Good evening, guys. Wow, man, I'm excited. I'm totally excited. It just seems that anything I've been passionate about in my life, including the landscape business I've had for 20 years, or the native art collecting, mastering the hi-fi market, and then I just thought, you know what? Why not share the experience that I've learned over the last 2, 3 decades, and just try to give my opinion and help others, right? There's a lot of people doing it here, as we know. And I'm kind of on a bit of a tangent, bringing up people's names on YouTube. And I'm sure lots are thinking, oh no, he's going to bash. I never do that here. I'm not here to do that. But I like to give credit where credit's due. And, that's why I did one on upscale. And that's why Danny there. And sure, it's going to bring up different opinions. And that's great. I mean, he's an asset to the community, and people will have their opinions as to, whatever they think about him. And, that was probably my biggest video I've ever done. Sure, I knew it would probably bring a lot of that, but I'm just trying to be genuine. And, so this time I'm gonna reverse it a bit. I'm gonna bring up somebody that, I don't know, doing the best he can. He does things a little different. And I'm gonna bash. Just kidding. I don't do that, and I won't do it. But who comes on YouTube to frickin' praise his so-called competition? I'm not here to compete. All I know is, I got my own business, okay? This is something I do on the side for fun, and I got my 1,000 subs in 11 months. And I think, without any help from anyone sending components in, I think that speaks volumes of the true experience that I have, right? So I'm going to skip over to Thomas and Stereo. So, because this is probably going to be the last guy I talk about. I've mentioned Ron in prior videos. He's like the godfather of this stuff. And it's funny because I bought the Spatials a long, long time ago, right? But he had the original M3s about 10 years ago. And there's one thing that he said: can you put them near a rear wall? Which mine aren't totally close. And will they work in a smallish room? And that was years ago. That had to be 10 plus. And once I heard that, it just resonated and stuck with me, right? And that's why I've owned these for 7 years. It's how they work in the room. Absolutely perfect. There's no echo here. There's no reverb. There's no treatment needed. And, you can hear that from the horse's mouth when my audiophile buddy comes over once again. He's already stated that there's no issues with this room. Not everybody has issues with their room. They don't need to plaster stuff on the walls. They just don't. When you choose the right topologies, you're all good. So Thomas and Stereo, why I like him so much is he's been pushing the envelope. And when he does a review, instead of these constant redundant reviews of this is the best, that's the best, this is a giant killer, usually he's doing some more, just a little bit more obscure stuff. Like the last one he did there was interesting, right? Of the DAC, the Canadian company there. Won't come to me, but what I like so much about him is he has audiophile friends with some pretty nice systems, and he's able to take that equipment to get other experienced audiophiles' opinions. I think that's brilliant. In a different room completely, to see how that component works in that room, right? And when I was searching for my mono blocks, once I sold my Monster 211 tube amps, I knew they weren't going to get duplicated for less money. I knew that. But I wanted something small, like a small format monoblock amplifier. And I always had my mind on those Burson timekeepers, right? And again, we cannot go by the specs. When something says 180 watts per channel, please don't believe that. Or if the topology is going to create that kind of power, like that you could feel in your room, right? I've had that many times, like the Kinky, that failed miserably with these huge power ratings, right? So those are like miniature Class A amplifiers that could put out 30 watts, which is pretty unheard of for these tiny little boxes, right? But I remember one word he said, and both the people that other guys used the word lean. And I can't do lean. I hate lean. But again, my room was different. My speakers were different. So when I got them, it was a trial. You can buy them on trial. I just prayed it would give me that bass extension, not just the punch, right? I got to have that extension where it extends to me and fills the room and I could feel it all over. And you know what? He was right on the money. Right on the money, man. I tried to love him. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it, unfortunately, right? I usually, it's best to get things into your room before you make any kind of decisions. And I know that's difficult. I really know that's difficult. It's not easy. Even going into a stereo shop, hearing it there. That's, again, I always bring this up, the used market. If it's learned, it is a fantastic tool for this. And that's what I did. I've been learning that since I started doing the used audio sites probably 15 years ago, right? And it's just become a phenomenal tool for me. But, good on you, Thomas, and also, these amps that he has his name behind and these speakers that have just come out, right? The integrated. You don't see them on the used market. The guys, I bet he's got a great ear for good sound. Usually when the hype stuff, it gets really, really hyped up, and the people that they're just a little bit more inexperienced, so they're waiting to pounce on that stuff because people said that it's a giant killer, it's the latest and greatest, and then they become more experienced. They realize, you know what? And then all of a sudden you just see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The market's flooded with them. So products, even like Danny Ritchie's completed speakers, you just rarely see them on the used market. So they must sound good. People are keeping them, So the market can teach us a lot. And, good on Thomas. And, I know how hard this must be because it took me 11 months to hit 1,000, and I'm not. And I'll be full-time when I'm retired, but I have my own business, right? So I could see how hard this is, right? That was a hell of a process to, just connect everything for monetization. It's one of the most stressful things I've had to deal with. There's a lot to it. And I think they do that on purpose. It's just not a simple process at all. But good for you, Thomas. Keep doing what you're doing. I really like those speakers that you just came out with, the LS35A kind of replicas. They're a nice looking speaker you got there. You got nice taste. I had my LS59s. I let them go. They were too much of a scalpel. Kind of just bringing too much everything out of the music that, I don't want my sound monitored like with a scalpel. That's why I enjoy my spatials oh so much. But yeah, Thomas and Stereo, keep doing what you're doing. I mean, I like what you're doing. Kind of pushing the envelope, evolving, not doing the same thing over and over again. So anyway, guys, have a good night. I'm excited about my new venture.